Making up words is not worth it. Anyway,
Real
hi
life.
everyone. We're
That's what
back.
Sacred Forest
what
is not a
branding is all
nice
about.
name.
But you wouldn't
Okay,
know.
okay, quiet. No negativity. Thank you very much. Let's
Fuck
start.
negativity.
Okay,
Oh, we are
everybody.
live.
Hello, and welcome to the Sunday Club, or should I say, Ni Hao, since Prime Minister Modi is on a
Ni
trip.
Hao is Japanese, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's,
No,
it's Chinese. Now it's Chinese.
it's
Oh, it's Chinese.
Chinese.
Okay.
Okay. My
Trust
God.
Advaita to get at least 2 words right in her entire lexicon. Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. So he's in China, and no one would have anticipated it a year ago, right, Professor? Would we have anticipated the Prime Minister being in China a year ago?
Look, let's not be very superficial about this. The fact
Okay.
is, the prime minister's itinerary, his engagements are decided quite some time in advance. Now he may change them at the last moment. It's not as if out of sheer pique he said, "I'm going to China." No, this must have been planned quite some time ago. Yes, the fact is, given the circumstances, he's attending the meeting gives it an entirely, a new perspective. But I think this must have been planned quite some time ago.
So wait, so SCO must have been planned quite some time ago, but the
Yeah.
bilateral, do you think that also
Hmm.
was planned quite some time ago?
Look, at
How is
these
it relevant?
meetings, yeah.
You're asking these questions. What is the relevance? I
Wait,
think
let
the
me
bigger
get to
issue
it. No,
here
let
is
him answer.
the
Okay, okay.
bigger
No, no,
issue
okay.
here is
Let him
See,
answer.
us.
Let him answer.
okay. See, the question is, when you have meetings of this sort, you do not lose the opportunity to have bilaterals. Okay, India may not want a bilateral with Pakistan, but certainly with countries like China and countries like Russia, you will have a bilateral. There may not be a joint statement, but I think this is too good an opportunity to be missed by not having a bilateral. Now, the question is the following: what are they going to discuss? A, will there be a joint statement? In the last SCO, which Rajnath Singh attended, there could not be a joint statement because India's concerns about Pahalgam and terrorism were not taken on board, whereas the proposed joint statement had mentioned attacks in Balochistan. So we decided not to be part of the joint statement, and that, in a sense, lowered the coherence of that entire conference. Circumstances, I think, have changed. After that, practically all major countries in SCO have been hit by American sanctions to the extent that everybody, in a sense, is feeling cornered. So, when everybody is feeling cornered, you have a tendency to come together. But let's face this, let's not be superficial in saying that this is a knee jerk reaction to US sanctions against India. These things have a calendar, they were planned quite some time ago. Narendra Modi has chosen to attend this one and not to send a deputy. So, to that extent, I think it shows, or at least let us not understate the maturity with which we handle international relations.
Okay, so he'll say it over to you.
What's the question?
You wanted to come in, right? That's why.
Yeah, but at that time, what is your question right now?
My question is, how do you think the timing lines up? Do you think Putin had a plan, had a role to play? Because we cannot even forget that Operation Sindoor was merely 2 months ago, in which time China did come in support of Pakistan. So, what are we looking at here?
Here are the 3 things that I believe are happening. Number one, Trump, the frigging idiot, has changed the global geopolitical order, which is good. He has made people come together who would ordinarily have not come together. In this case, China and India. So Trump, in one fell swoop, has dismantled 2 things: America's hegemony and America's position as a peacemaker. The only Nobel he will get is the Ig Nobel Prize. He won't win any Nobel Prize for sure, unless those jokers in the Swedish Academy have also gone nuts. Number 2, India has recognized, and I must say, I'm not blowing my own trumpet. I said this on a channel called Republic many, many weeks ago, where I issued a 4-point formula, which today, by the way, Piyush has talked about. And I said Indian brands must go overseas. We have the potential, we have the capability. On August 29, 2 days ago, Mukesh Ambani in his AGM speech mentioned exactly that we will take geo overseas. Number three, we have to source other markets. America, of 780 billion of exports that India does, America accounts for 4.9%. Of that 4.9%, 50% is impacted because services are not impacted, pharma is not impacted. We don't need to suck up to these American little fucktards. So we have to take a decision that, look, India is quite capable of doing it on its own. My only problem with India, with this government, previous governments, is we wake up after the horses have bolted. The problem is we all knew that we have to have interdependence of our own making where we can call the shots. Now we are planning, and let me tell you, Advaita, the pain points: jewelry, gems, apparel. These are real pain points. And the problem is these are also large employment categories. So to switch, for instance, if I need to put up an apparel factory in Vietnam or Bangladesh or, the UAE, it'll take me about a year and a half. In the meantime, the big buyers from the US would have shifted to Bangladesh, to Vietnam, and to then shift them back becomes increasingly difficult. So my point is as follows. I think in adversity, we must seize opportunities. We must recognize that we can't be at war if we can be allies. So, I'm not saying suck it up, qua China, but I think China also realizes that there's a greater piece of the pie to obtain rather than just fight over, land territory. And America will suffer for 3.5 years under Donald J. Trump. Come October and see what happens with inflation and how the American consumer starts screwing him. Then comes the midterm. Then see how he gets screwed there. So I'm not too worried. I'm only concerned about the alacrity with which we as a country will now buckle up, recalibrate, and then, start our previous domination all over again.
Okay. Pallavi, there is an absence in this entourage that has gone with the Prime Minister, and that is the External Affairs Minister, Mr. Jaishankar. What are you hearing about this absence?
See, I checked with the government sources, and they say that there have been many such trips of the Prime Minister where the External Affairs Minister doesn't necessarily have to go there. What usually happens is that either the External Affairs Minister has gone there already and done some kind of a groundwork, or they feel that the focus has to be, and in this case, only on the Prime Minister, because that's what the SCO summit about. And I mean, I don't know how far this is true. I'm not going to look for any conspiracy theories over here, but that's what I've been very, very clearly told by government sources.
One minute. Who are your sources?
You don't reveal your sources.
That's what some bloody mystery.
No.
Suhel, what should I say? Sherlock Holmes. Who are your sources? Always you're wrong on many things. Who are these sources? Because I'll tell you one thing. You are a very sharp, very pointed human being, and I say this with grace. And I think you don't need to tell us your sources. You give us your views, because your intellect is far
She
greater
asked
than
me a question.
Sources.
She asked me a question.
Okay, Suhel, why do you think he's not gone?
Because Jaishankar is not needed. As simple. Ajit Doval is there. He's the National Security Advisor. The Foreign Secretary is there. Look, let me tell you, my friend, this is not a junket like you and your predecessors used to enjoy in previous governments. I mean, not you, because you weren't born there. So my whole point is that let's not read too much. Jaishankar not going there is good, actually, because too many cooks spoil the noodle soup. I have no issues. The Prime Minister is there, the NSA is there, the Foreign Secretary is there. You have delegations which mean something. Jaishankar not going doesn't matter. Just because Jaishankar speaks fluent Mandarin doesn't mean we don't have interpreters for that purpose.
One second. Where Jaishankar, look, I don't think anything dramatic will come out of this particular SCO. However, where India's interests are concerned, where the border is concerned, tranquility in the border is concerned, Doval is the person who's in charge of this. So he is going. So it's not that the SCO will remake the world today. That's not going to happen. It won't be anything dramatic. Right now, what are India's concerns? India's concerns are the following. Given what the Americans have done, can we get access to alternate markets? And the alternate markets, in a sense, are not to be found in SCO. The Chinese market is too competitive, and where it is not competitive, it is blocked. The
Push them, Suhel.
Russian market, yes, we have to look at the Russian market, but that has to be sorted out bilaterally. We have to look at the European market. So where our problems lie, the solutions are not in the SCO. The solutions lie outside. And I'm telling you, I was heartened. I was watching a podcast where Indian exporters said, our reliance or rather over reliance on the Americans for garments, in a sense, has been bad for us. And it's good that this has happened
Exactly.
because it is making us alive to the possibility of the other markets. The fact
Correct.
is, European market is underserved. So this is the time where we actually start penetrating Europe. And let me come back to the point that Suhel made. Building brands. If you are selling to brands, then the brands will choose that person which is low cost. If you have your own brand, that brand, if that brand is able to capture a niche market, then you are not that sensitive to costs as you are today. That is why building of Indian brands, I think, is very, very necessary. And that is one area where we've been extremely short-sighted. And by the way, I don't blame the government for it. This is something that Indian corporates should have done. They have not been able
Okay.
to do so.
Now, let me give you,
So yeah.
without any interruption, a lesson on what else happened and where is the possibilities. We keep talking about our prowess in IT. Bullshit. It is all about labor arbitrage. Because we sell our services cheap, we are wanted. Why the hell did India never create a Facebook or a Google? We created coup, and you know what happened to coup? We are pathetic as far as innovation is concerned. We are pathetic as far as capital investment is concerned. We are lazy little, you know what? Because we say 1.4 billion market, इनको ही चूसो बाहर क्यों जाना है? So now it is hitting us hard. We have never created a great brand. I mean, look at China, yeah. They've created bloody Alibaba, they've created Huawei, they've created everything. South Korea years ago created Daewoo, LG, Samsung. So our industry has been point blank lazy. It has relied on government handouts. You remember the famous comment by Rahul Bajaj, Bombay Club, Bombay Club? Bullshit. It was all license, Raj. These jokers never made great products for India. Until Maruti came, our automobile industry was screwed. The CK Birlas and all of the world produced pathetic little cars, whether it was the Ambassador or whatever it was. So, point I'm making is this is a wake-up call. A, B. Do not expect government to handhold you for everything. Why should they? You've got access to capital. You've got access to money. Why are you not spending that money? Why are you not investing that money? Why are you only hoarding that money? Look at the balance sheets of the top 10 companies. So my point, Advaita, is we need to go overseas. We need to build our brands. Now, you may say whatever there's that. Look at what Adani has done with the Haifa port. Look at what Adani is doing, slowly expanding internationally. Look at what Mukesh has said about Geo. Look at the fact that they're opening Swadesh, a retail store in New York. So things are happening, but they're not happening at scale. We now need to build scale. I sat on a Coca-Cola advisory board for years. Today, Mukesh Ambani under Reliance has launched Campa. Campa today has 14.8% market share in Uttar Pradesh, a state close to your heart, where Yogi ji presides. To get 14.8% market share in less than a year is phenomenal. Why can't Campa be taken overseas? We can whip Coca-Cola. But the point is, there must be also government aid only in one area, ease of business. The
Yes.
government of India has a problem for every solution. That has to change.
Yes.
international brands. See, remember one thing, Advaita, and thank me later for this, my love. Brands insulate you from price elasticity because the brand itself is the value. A Rolex shows you the same time as a Tissot or as a Swatch. Why do you buy a Rolex? Because there's an inherent brand value to it. We need to build that brand value into Indian products, and we need to take those forward. I'll give you some. And you know this. I'm advising brands overseas, and sometimes I wonder why Indian brands can't whip them overseas. I'll give you a small example. Organic India, which the Tatas bought from Fab India, which has a range of organic products, including Tulsi tea, is now kicking ass in North America without any governmental support. The Tatas are doing a great job with pushing organic India overseas. I'm saying we need to do a lot more. Even the apparel makers who are making apparel, let's say for a Next or for a Gap or for a
Zara.
this
Yeah.
thing, for a Zara, need to create their own branded products. But these guys don't want to spend money. They're happy being labor arbitrage jokers rather than actually spending money creating a brand, insulating the brand from price elasticity, and building a great brand. Zara started in Spain. Then IKEA. They're great brands that have been built from scratch. We've done sweet bugger all.
Yep. I hope
And
you'll
even
help
the
me with
Anand
my
says that
brand.
stop calling our tech people lazy, they work hard. Hard work is for donkeys. I'm not interested, Mr. whatever your name is, Sridhar, in hard work. This is the problem. Sir, we work 18 hours. Arey 18 hours में बाबा जी का ठुल्लू किया तुम लोगों ने घंटा किए 18 hours. This is the stupidity of the average, not every, but most Indians.
But you
Look at
speak
this.
18 hours
These
at
are rich
least, Suhel,
businessmen who have no
non-stop.
vision. They don't have balls. Exactly. But don't say that, oh, we are working hard. Hard work is no substitute for smartness. We need to work smart. The problem is Narayan Murthy and all these guys have made hard work fashionable. Pallavi works hard. Then
And she does good work.
Uh,
Are you done?
yeah.
No, I'm asking Suhel. Yeah.
Suhel
Always.
speaks 18 hours non-stop.
Suhel, I hope you'll help me with my brand.
No, to
we're
be-
going to
no,
go
to be
to-
fair
Not
to
if it's
Anand
called
Sridhar-
Sacred
No,
Forest.
no,
wait.
okay.
To be fair to
Sacred
Anand
Forest,
Sridhar,
if you
I
call it,
didn't
they're
give
not
full
going to.
comment. But when I said calling our tech people lazy, I don't mean every tech person is lazy. I'm saying qua building brands, we have infected ourselves with laziness. That's the
Lack
point.
of
Okay,
innovation.
Suhel,
Basically, the
can
lack
I
of
can I
innovation.
come on? I'll come back to
Please.
that. Let me come to that point. You see, we've been, when it comes to IT enabled services, we've basically captured the market for a long period of time. What pains me is China was able to create a deep seek and we did not. I don't say we could not, we did not. Why did we do so? Look at Nandan Nilekani's statement. He says, let the big boys in silicon develop these particular products, we will write the programs. And this is so sad. If you look at the investment that
Can you
has gone
imagine?
into DeepSeek, it's $200 billion. It's a fraction of the fraction of a profit that Infosys makes every year. So we have the resources, we had the IT manpower, the brain power to do so, but we did not because of this mentality. Let the silicon people do it and we'll make the programs. Look, if the Chinese do it, the Chinese will write the programs. And that entire IT enabled services, a huge chunk of it will basically travel to China. This is the mentality of our IT sector that basically saddens me. When it comes to Indian brands, at the margins, I see some change. For example, the Mahindras are actually creating a brand in countries like Chile, etc. But it isn't happening as fast as it should. Now, let's come back to the Shanghai Cooperation Council. How many countries do we trade with? What is our trade with Central Asia? Central Asia is a repository of hydrocarbons. It is a repository of riches. But when it comes to trade with Central Asia, we have not been innovative enough in pushing our goods into Central Asia. That market space has been been taken over by China. Look, there are difficulties. To go to Central Asia, we have to go through Iran. that poses problems, but these are not insurmountable problems. So a lack of imagination when it comes to approaching alternative markets has left us economically vulnerable. But even in
Correct.
the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where several countries actually sympathize with India, they are able to come out fully because of the dominance of China. One of the things we could have done to help ourselves and help them was to create an economic presence in these particular countries, which we have not. We've been lazy. Low hanging fruit, America. Easiest market to penetrate, America. So let's try and crack it. This has been a wake up call. I'm happy this has been a wake up call. And I
Never,
think this,
yeah,
yeah,
never push your
never,
brand on price because there will always be
absolutely.
competitive pressures.
Yeah,
Insulate your brands on value. Consumers buy
value.
benefits, they don't buy brands. If price is your only benefit, you will always get screwed. Price
True.
can never be a benefit. Price may be a discriminant, but it's never a benefit.
Pallavi?
क्या बोलूं मैं? Everything the two of them have said. But
Yeah.
see, I tell you,
This
I
is
tell
the
you for
Indian
the boy.
attitude. This is the Indian attitude.
Can I speak? May I speak?
Yeah.
So very briefly, see, I do cover commerce and finance, so I'm not. So I know what is happening, and I agree with Suhel, and I agree with Professor on that. We should not have made the mistake of putting all eggs in our basket. It's late when you would
Not in
say,
our
but it's
basket,
better
in one basket.
in my
Basket.
basket. Sorry, that
I
was
mean,
slip.
we don't
Suhel,
care about what
sorry,
you put in your basket.
Suhel, sorry. What are you drinking? Don't show off. So the thing is that there are two reasons why I think the government is now, the prime minister is now reaching out to China because one, we are clearly looking for alternative markets, which both of you have already spoken about. Textiles are a worry, footwear, carpets, all of that is a huge worry. Even pharma, because knowing the way Donald Trump goes, we don't know that what he does with pharma because pharma is by and large outside the reciprocal tariff domain. So that doesn't apply there. So we are now clearly looking at newer markets. Like that day, I saw a release coming that Dehradun to Dubai. What was going? Mangoes, something like that. Yeah, mangoes. And then Dehradun to Qatar. This thing is going lychee. So we're looking for new markets which we never bothered to tap earlier. That's one. I guess that's what the prime minister was also working on. Second, we are trying to now get into a part of that axis: Russia, China, India, as opposed to Trump. So I think that's my belief that this is two reasons: politics, one, and second, of course, sniffing for new markets and looking for trade alternatives to America. So I guess that's the reason why the prime minister has focused, personally gone there for the SCO summit, and that coming closer and closer to China in the sense of projecting India as rethinking its China policy.
Yes, and
But we want, when
let's
it comes
remember
to
that the
economics,
Professor. One second.
But Professor,
Let's
there's been a lot, and Advaita, there's been a lot of criticism. There's a lot of criticism online, especially coming in from the Congress party, which is talking about the fact that how can you forget the blood of our Fauji's at the Galwan? Why are you going up to China? The Prime Minister sold the nation. I don't think diplomacy works in such a simplistic manner.
look, we should reach out to China because they happen to be our neighbor. You can't wish away our neighbors. My thing is the following: if anybody thinks that we are going to get an economic benefit out of this particular meeting, that's not it. Economically, we are dependent on China. A lot of imports that our industry uses actually comes from China. But the Chinese markets are effectively close to us. They're close to us. Sometimes the price that we sell for is too high for the Chinese market. They're very competitive. And where we have an advantage, the Chinese have a tendency to put in a lot of restrictions also. So economically, we are not going to get much from China. But joining China, having a dialogue with China and Russia in this thing tells the Americans that at least where geopolitics is concerned, we are not isolated. There are groupings we are part of. So that is, I think, a message that is sent. In a sense, we have always been part of these groupings. We have always ensured that when it comes to BRICS, other associations, we keep these associations alive. But economically, not much can be expected of this meeting from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Economically, not
okay,
much.
now Okay, Professor. Now, the original purpose of the Shanghai Cooperation was really cooperation on issues like terror and things of that
Yeah,
nature. Considering
yeah.
Pakistan is the biggest sponsor of terror for India, at least, and
Hmm.
why and the way China reacted to Operation Sindoor, are we going to be broaching this? Are we going to achieve any kind of decisions when it comes to China's stance on these issues? Has China taken note of Pakistan's growing closeness to the US? Where are we at this?
Look, I think right now, such is the situation, and the stakes are so high that Pakistan is actually a minor player in all this. India and China, China and Russia, India and Russia, we are coming. The statement, in a sense, it's the big daddies talking to one another. India would be stupid to insist on a statement that condemns Pakistan, etc. Because Pakistan right now is too small. There are far bigger issues ahead. China realizes that, India realizes that, Russia realizes that. So this podium, this occasion will not be used by India to do something that hyphenates us with Pakistan. No. What we are going to do is to basically say, look, this is a multipolar world and no single country has the right to dictate to any other country as to how it should behave. And I think on that, India's stance will find resonance. So this is not, you're absolutely correct. One of the themes of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization was security and terrorism. But you saw what happened in June. So let us be that as it may, let it that remain as it may. We dealt with Pakistan. We can deal with Pakistan. The best way to deal with Pakistan is to basically do what we did in Operation Sindoor, not to take the matter to the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So here the joint statement will stress on the multipolarity of the world and address broader security concerns. I don't think Pakistan will be a part of that.
Okay, Suhel, over to you. How are the Americans responding to this big meet? I've seen some American media, and they're paying close attention, and that image of Xi, Modi, and Putin is creating some waves.
Nothing. Yeah. They don't give a monkey's toss. This is just them saying, oh, look at this, another access. Let me tell you a couple of things. Do not trust China. They are the deepest Machiavellian little fucktards, never to be trusted. They are rascals of the highest order. Okay, so if you think, oh, cheese meeting Modi and everything is good, no, you can't trust those buggers. They're untrustable, if I can use that word. This whole thing about now India will forge an alliance with Russia and China. Stick to your own knitting. Fortify yourself. This again, you will move from the frying pan into the fire. First, we put all our eggs, to quote Pallavi, in their basket, which is America. Now we want to put all our eggs in the China basket. Won't work. Store your eggs and eat them properly. Because let me tell you, China is not going to help you. China will help China, as they should. Russia will help Russia. All these are optics to screw Trump, but optics don't get you money. Optics don't get you revenue. Economic prowess gets you money, it gets you revenue, it gets you respect. So let's not go overboard saying, oh my God, they go China, mein gaye, sabki le li, nothing will happen. A, B. I don't give a toss about what the Western media says. The New York Times is out to screw Trump. We're the collateral. They are highlighting us in order to tell Trump, listen, you jerk, you're not doing a great job. So please, let's be realistic. The problem with us in this country is we clutch at every straw of hope. Absolutely, I've lost my marbles. I mean, whoever you are. So point I'm making is, the point I'm making is, these are the jokers from the media and people like Abhinav who think, oh, it's a great thing, China, China, China. Let's be realistic. We have to fight our economic battles ourselves. No one is going to help us. No one should help us, and we shouldn't expect anyone to help us. We have gone to this SCO It's a global summit, and that's where the entire engagement or the purposefulness must end. Don't read too much into it because nothing's going to happen. Again, you'll come back from China disillusioned. If tomorrow they enter Ladakh or they enter another territory of yours, you'll say, oh, but you can't be trusted. In fact, my advice to the government, not that they take my advice, would be don't overplay this whole SCO summit. Because tomorrow something happens, the Congress will again jump on your neck, and rightly so, saying we told you not to trust these guys and you trusted them, and see what they've done.
Yeah.
You see,
Pallavi, that brings
Advaita,
us. Yeah.
since you went to Wellams, there's a brilliant line in Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland. It says, lessons are those that lesson from lesson to lesson. We need to learn our lessons. Pallavi, did you ever read Alice in Wonderland?
I don't
Evidently.
read.
Evidently.
Pallavi, brings us to the Congress, your favorite party. What's happening there?
He's
How are
banned
they
from-
responding?
Aren't you banned from the Congress?
No, why should I be banned?
No, see, this is it. No one in India answers a question. I asked, are you banned? The answer should be no. Why are you asking me a question? But why should I be banned? How do I
Because
know?
your question is only silly, na? Suhel?
I asked, are you banned? The answer should be no.
Okay, the answer is no.
Correct.
Not
Good.
completely, actually.
Correct.
No, I'm not banned from the Congress.
Suhel has a defender.
No,
He has
I don't
naturally
need any
curly white,
defense.
he can't
I've got curly hair. Yeah, go ahead. Go
Pallavi, you
ahead.
were asked a question. Answer.
Oh, I was asked a question. No, but that's a very abstract question. What is the Congress up to? I mean, where is it up to? Vis-a-vis China, you're talking about the voter Adhikar Yatra. What are you talking about? That I don't know, na?
I have to say this Voter Adhikar Yatra, they're doing a great job. You have to give Congress credit for what they are doing. It is from the people I've spoken to in Bihar, distributors, wholesalers, retail outlets, it is creating an impact, whether you like it or not. It's another matter that mainstream media is not covering it or covering it, but it is creating an impact, as is, by the way, Prashant Kishore's campaign.
Yeah.
In fact,
Prashant
Advaita, my
Kishore
request to
definitely
you
is.
would be next Sunday, please do a program on Bihar.
Yeah.
But she was planning to do one today only, from China
Listen,
to Bihar.
again, see, we are asking her to do it here, but she was planning to do. We are
That's what
making.
she told us.
Yeah. Okay, then.
Then she
Pallavi?
decides it's her show.
Pallavi?
See, on
Yes.
China, as I said, the Congress has already begun to attack the Prime Minister. They put up pictures of those 20 soldiers of Galwan, and they say he's going to be a sellout. Now, if tomorrow China, Pakistan proximity is something which cannot be denied. China, Bangladesh also is something which cannot be denied. And that's also one of the main reasons we had a problem with China. There's clearly a trust deficit behind what is happening at the SCO summit. Now, tomorrow, if China now reaches out to Pakistan, cozies up to them, or makes some kind of a statement, or something starts happening around Arunachal Pradesh, as Suhel rightly pointed out, you're going to give it on a platter to the Congress party. They're going to definitely keep on attacking. Frankly speaking, I don't blame them for this because that's what political parties are supposed to do. So I'm
BJP
no one
attacked
to-
them for 1962. They're going to repay the favor. BJP
Yeah,
attacked
they
them for
will.
1965. They'll repay
Because
the favor.
nationalism is something on which the Congress has always been cornered by the BJP. That Rahul Gandhi speaks the language of Pakistan. Now they'll do the same thing. You wait and watch. And Rahul Gandhi's favorite topic has been China because wherever he's gone, he's always made the point that the Chinese are making intrusions into Indian economy. Their products are cheaper. Diwali ke time pe. Now Diwali is coming, na? One of the local traders' biggest angst has been the fact that the Chinese products has flooded our market so much that no one is buying our desi stuff. How are you going to synchronize this whole Swadeshi pitch with the easy availability and the cheaper versions coming in from China? So I do see a lot of politics happening over it back home over here, definitely over the China visit.
Interesting. And what is the latest on the tariffs? We're on the Trump. It's been the court has said he can't do this, but he's then gone and changed the law. So, Professor, tell us a little bit about this that's going on.
What the federal court has ruled is that the power to impose these kind of tariffs belongs to the US Congress. Okay. And he said that he has basically overstretched his limits by imposing tariffs. What they have done is they have basically given this judgment, but they have not struck down the tariffs and given him the opportunity to go to the US Supreme Court. Now, I'm given to understand by some lawyers who are not necessarily democratic that the court may be right and the US Supreme Court may actually strike them down. Okay, if that happens, I think that would be a fatal political blow. But even if it does not happen, what you are seeing with US trading partners, be it the EU or the Japanese or the Indians, nobody wants to arrive at a deal. You see, and that is why the Americans are getting enormously frustrated. In fact, there are reports that they are telling the Europeans, just as we've imposed sanctions on the Indians for buying Russian oil, you also do something similar. Stop buying Russian, refined oil from India, which is sourced from Russia. The problem is, right now, even Ukraine is buying diesel from India. So there is this particular problem. So there is a legal problem. He has some respite. He can take it to the Supreme Court. If it's struck down, one thing, but the tariffs are a huge mess he can't get out of.
Okay, and if you could just tell us a little bit about what we did with Japan and how that plays into the whole China factor, the Prime Minister's visit to Japan prior to this one.
Look, what so far we've received commitments from Japan about certain investments. When they happen, they will happen. When Japanese corporations finally realize that India is a source of cheap labor and invest in India as they did in Southeast Asia and export to the rest of the world to reclaim some of the market they've lost to the Chinese, that would be a good day. But as of now, the only promises we have of investments, I think what we need with respect to Japan is market access. Our exports to Japan, apparel, etc., are woeful. We again, I think I'm looking for an FTA with the European Union and an FTA with Japan on the lines that we got with the UK. The UK FTA, I think, is a great deal. And if we get it, nothing like it with the other countries. I think that is the way to go forward. But the fact is, the Japanese, in a sense, have shown that they are not interested in FTA talks vis-a-vis the Americans until such times the Americans change their attitude. That is welcome because it also means that they are also looking at alternative trading partners. India is there. Right now, the Japanese have a massive trade surplus vis-a-vis India. The time has come for Japan to change that by allowing us access into their markets. And all these promises of investment, when they come, they'll come.
Okay, and just a quick reminder to our viewers, we're 500 plus people with us live. Please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and do share this conversation with your friends if you enjoyed them. Remember, we're also on Spotify now, so do join our channel on Spotify. And coming back to this, Suhel, Trump is unpredictable, right? It's very likely he will turn around and change his view, especially with the midterms coming, and if he feels any kind of blowback from his domestic audience. India in this will have to provide him an out if that situation arises, because Trump also has a massive ego. How are we going to manage this? What kind of an out do you think is possible in a situation like this?
So, after this, I have to leave, so I'll just make it pretty quick. Trump is unhinged. Trump is stupid, but he's not unwily. I think the best treatment for Trump is to ignore him. People who are egotistical and maniacal like Trump is, for them, indifference really rattles them. If Modi had taken his call or responded to him, there would have been a dialogue. Why is he pissed? He's pissed that he's been ignored. That is a body blow to him. It's a body blow to his ego. It's a body blow to his position. It's a body blow to his belief that he's changing the world day by day. So the only way to handle Trump is by imagining he doesn't exist, and he will say things. He will want you to engage. But this is precisely what a bully is. A bully is essentially a coward. So if you ignore him, you will make him walk the talk. And that's the only way we've got to handle Donald J. Trump. On that note, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. God bless.
Okay, thank you so much. And we've got the details on bullying from the expert himself. So I hope you all will listen to that very closely. But
But
Professor,
Advaita,
huh?
when it comes to giving him an out, he has pushed himself and India to such a corner that I'm not too sure what we can give him. Look, at this point in time, the Japanese aren't speaking to him. The Europeans are wary now. If you look at the humiliation that the European leaders faced when they were in Europe, they are also wary of basically talking to him. The Canadians aren't speaking to him. Who is speaking to him? The Bangladeshis, the Pakistanis, the Turks, possibly, not even the Turks, the Azeris, and the Armenians. These are the countries who are speaking to him. So at this point in time, I agree with Suhel. The best way to handle him is basically by studied silence. And what's happening? His hounds, Navarro, are now cooking up these fantastic, bizarre stories about India's shenanigans vis-a-vis Russian oil. And the funny thing is, nobody in the United States believes them. Even, see, right now the Democratic opposition is so discredited that they are also quiet. But sooner or later, tariffs will pay up into higher prices. There is a slowdown coming into the American economy. There is a threat of stagflation. If stagflation kicks in, he will be in very, very serious trouble. Very serious trouble.
And the thing is that none of these people, you're right, are speaking to him. But think about it. It was considered impossible that a leader of any country, would not take a phone call or not be speaking to the United States president. The Americans have to be worried about how the office of the president is sliding internationally.
Advaita, you're absolutely correct. But let us come to what happened a few weeks ago, which I talked about in the previous program. For the first time, you see an American CEO, that's Tim Cook, coming out with a gold-plated iPhone to be given to the president. Have you seen anything like this before? And I said again, it reminded me of a scene from Godfather 2, where the mafia dons come together and the character played by, a character who plays Hyman Roth is passing a golden solid telephone among other mafia dons who have gambling interests in Cuba, and they want to give this golden telephone to the dictator Fulgencio Batista. So this is the image that came to me. This is what he has reduced the American presidency to. Now, the problem with talking to Donald Trump, you never know what version of that conversation comes out. That any version that comes out will be self-serving to Donald Trump. And the manner in which he basically posted about what was going on between India and Pakistan, damaged us, at least in the short term, greatly. Today, of course, nobody takes Pakistan's claims seriously. We now know more or less what has happened. But for that time, the image that was created, did hurt India politically. Today, everybody knows it. And that is why today, nobody wants to take his calls. Nobody wants to speak to him unless there are other people in the room. One last example. Chancellor Merz of Germany was speaking to him one-to-one, and he talked about the Second World War. And Trump said, "Oh, that didn't go all that well for you." Merz basically said, that was a liberating experience from us because the Americans liberated us from Nazism. But if a president of the United States starts crowing at the fact that we defeated the Germans, we defeated you in Second World War, that is the new low. It is immature, it is petty, it is foolish. But this is what the American presidency is today.
Right. And onto another topic, and it's sort of something that is being bantered about and talked about in the market, is the possibility of job loss. How real is this with the tariffs hitting? And when, if it is to happen, when will we start seeing the impact? I'm already seeing news reports of the weavers of Varanasi having some troubles, very initial, but something's coming out. Tech company employees are a little nervous. So what's to
Uh,
be expected?
the job loss because of tariffs will be in two areas, if at all. One will be in gems and jewelry, but then when it comes to gems and jewelry, I do not think there is any other market which has the excess capacity to, supply what India has been supplying. So on that count, I think job loss will be fairly limited. Number one. Number two, it if this persists, then I think our apparel industry, which is extremely labor intensive, will start taking a hit. But there are reports that American garment procurers, to maintain diversity, have informed many of their Indian suppliers that the tariffs notwithstanding, they are not going to reduce their sourcing from India. But if they start reducing their sources, then I think places like Tirupur, the apparel cluster, will take a hit. And if it starts hitting our gems and jewelry business, places like Surat will start taking a hit. But there's also the other dimension. One thing is that if India starts to diversify these exports to, say, Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and the United Arab Emirates starts exporting this to the Americans, it may take some time for the Americans to figure out what is going on. Okay, so you could again crack the American market by rerouting your exports to other markets. You could
Yeah.
actually,
I think it will
in
be
that
done
case,
also.
it will be done. Now we have to see the seriousness with which Americans basically pursue this. They may have decided that what we've done has gone too far. So if we basically become slightly wily and reroute our goods through other markets, they may know what is going on but may choose not to act. But if, on the other hand, they choose to act, citing rules of origin, it would mean that they will also spoil their relationships with other trading partners. At this point in time, I have a feeling that they may have realized they've gone a bit too far. So it's likely that they will allow the state diversion to take place. If they do not, we are looking at some job losses unless the government of India comes out with a compensatory package which compensates exporters on the hit that they take. So of course,
Yeah.
so if there's a tariff of additional tariff of 25%, and I compensate you for 25%, say by making loans practically interest free, waiving taxes, etc., etc., then something can be worked out. So in that case, we won't have job losses, but India's deficit will take some sort of hit. But I'm not too sure we have come to that yet.
Okay. That's
But plus, we are coming
reassuring.
out with a package and all. I think the government is also aware of it. So they have a
Yeah,
long-term plan. They're planning. They're going to announce an exporters package. Then
yeah,
looking at MSMEs, giving them SOPs,
yeah.
GST rate that they are hoping is actually going to boost up demands. Things are going to get cheaper. All of that stuff. So it won't happen overnight. It's going to take. I'm seeing that now the festive season begins. That's another worrying sign.
Yeah.
I think we are going to watch the sales very, very carefully.
Yeah, but even state governments like the UP state government, for example, has already started, rolling out plans on how to, deal with the tariffs. So even the state governments are getting into action. And
By the way, Advaita, weavers of Banaras, they sell what is called a niche item. I'm not too sure they will be particularly hit by a 25% tariff rate because the importer is likely to absorb that. Because the importer's margins on goods, woven goods, hand woven goods, loom woven goods from Banaras is likely to be far higher than 25%, and there is no substitute for it. So I'm
right.
not too sure that the weavers of Banaras would actually be hit by the 25%. They may have other problems, but this tariff hit is not something I expect to, damage the
As per
Banaras weavers seriously.
as per the news report, I'm only going by media reports.
Okay.
They reported in interviews with weavers that wholesale orders have been cancelled, stock is being returned, and those kind of things. So that's what that report said. But if you're saying there's a possibility that importers may absorb that, then that's really, really good news. This is also an
Which,
opportunity
by
for
the
other
way,
countries.
Advaita, which brings us back to Suhel's point. If a brand had been created, a global brand had been created, at least in the target country, about Banaras weavers and Banaras cloth and Banaras products, then we would have protected ourselves from this particular arbitrary action. The
Yeah.
moment somebody else buys from you and sells in his name, you lose that protection. And that is why brand creation is so important.
So important, and that's what I'm also going to be doing. But I want to also ask all of you,
But don't call it sacred forest.
no, don't take the name
Yeah.
here. Okay, thank you very much. I'm sticking with that. I like it. Whether you all like the name or not is immaterial. I like it. Okay. And now, very quickly, I want to also say that this is also an opportunity for certain countries. Like I've heard the Germans are really looking to attract Indian students because of how complicated it's getting to go to the
Yeah.
United States. And they've seen a jump anyway, but now they feel even more kind of optimistic about the fact that our students will travel there. But remember, Indian students travel far and wide for education all over the world. Every time there's a global crisis, there's always Indian students stranded or caught in the mix. We've seen that. And it's a real revenue source for universities abroad, and they're going to come for that. So this is also creating opportunities for other countries to step into areas where the US really was the top choice.
Yeah, but there's a difference. You see, to a to a great degree, people go to the United States for their education because they think there's a perception that after I'm educated in the United States, I will be able to join the American job market. There's this hope that I'll basically get absorbed in the American labor force. That is not particularly true when it comes to Europe. The European job market, in that sense, is somewhat more restrictive. So the kind of surge that Canada has seen in the past, of course, Canada is difficult now, or Australia, is also, the deal is sweetened by the fact that there is this perception that you will be able to join the local job market. That is not there for Europe. Now, I think it is in Europe's interest, given the demographic transition that Europe is going through, to allow educated Indian labor force to enter the European market. If you look at the Indian diaspora outside, it is a diaspora which continuously tries to improve itself. It is a law-abiding diaspora. It contributes to innovation and it contributes to business. And given the problems that Europe has been having with other kinds of diaspora, I think the time has come for Europe also to rethink its immigration policies and to be more welcoming of India. Now, the advantage with Germany is that German higher education institutions also offer courses in English. This is not necessarily true for other European institutions. The French are changing themselves somewhat, but I'm not too sure that the other European institutions have anglicized themselves to the extent that the Germans have. And that is, I think, a disadvantage. But the fact also is Indian students must get out of their comfort zone. The only foreign language you know is English. It wouldn't hurt if you knew another European language, actually. So I think
Okay.
if that happens, nothing like it.
Or learn Chinese. It takes 5 years, but
Yeah.
it's going to work. All right, Pallavi, last word to you before we wrap up this Sunday club. And let us know what we should expect politically in the upcoming week. Pallavi, please unmute
Unmute
yourself.
yourself.
I think the big thing is going to be definitely the GST thing on 4th, because that's going to be having a lot of impact on what government is looking at, a kind of a solution to these tariff wars and all of that. So that should happen on the 4th. Tomorrow, of course, is the big rally. I want to see if Mamata Banerjee turns up. Most probably she's not, which means that there is a problem happening there. She's clearly now distancing herself. And next week, I think this coming week also, the election commission is going to finally come out with the list of the final voters. So maybe that should be a closer. I don't think it's going to be a closure because I think the Congress pretty much has made up its mind that this is going to be the big issue. So yeah, sir.
And vice president's election also seems to
Yeah,
be
that's on 9th.
very
Yeah,
hot and
voting. Well,
picking
that's
up.
a given. Now we know who's going to win.
That's a given.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow, if something interesting happens, we can meet again and discuss
Tomorrow
that.
is the Putin PM meeting.
Yeah,
Putin
Yes.
exactly.
PM meeting.
That's a
Very
big one.
important.
But they
Very
get
big
along.
one, yeah.
So you know,
They get
we'll
along.
see how that works out. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
but
think there's a
Ukraine.
possibility that the prime minister could even broker some sort of peace between
Between Ukraine and Russia, yeah.
Russia. I'm just saying,
Oh,
and
But
if
you
you
I know one
Se-
person will have a heart attack.
ballistic, yeah,
No, but
you know who's going to go
Zelensky has had 2 conversations with the prime minister in a span of a week. So there's something clearly brewing there.
ballistic, right? And
Yeah, but
if
It'll be a
this
big, it'll be a big snap to Trump if it happens.
but considering the way he treated Zelensky in the White House in the Oval Office and his relationship with Putin, I think it's rest assured that Prime Minister Modi might actually have a shot at this. Remember, he's also the longest serving democratically elected leader in the world. So he's like an elderly statesman now on the global stage. So let's keep an eye out for that as well. I have a sneaky feeling that we might see something there, but maybe that's just me and the writer in me who would love to see a twist in the tale like that. But we'll see. But thank you everybody again for watching. I want to again remind you that there is a new show called Mic Off with Advaita. And
Very nice.
this week I've interviewed former Air Chief RKS Bhadoria, who's a fascinating storyteller and narrator of his experiences in the armed forces. And of course, as Air Chief, I even asked him whether he's ever seen a UFO in high flight zones. And if you want to know the answer to that, do listen to that program. I do ask him that. And of course, UP's defense corridor when it comes to Atmanirbhar Bharat, especially when it comes to Atmanirbhar in defense preparedness. So a really interesting conversation with such a high-ranking air security official, I should say, was a privilege for me. So do watch, and thank you so much. You can of course catch us on Spotify as well, and do like, share, and subscribe. And we shall see you soon if something interesting happens. Else, we'll see you on Sunday. Bye, everybody.
Bye.